You are here, on this tiny planet called Earth. Everything you've ever known. Your home, your city, every person you've ever met. All of it exists on this one small world. But here's where things get strange. The moon is about 384,000 kilometers away. That's far enough to fit roughly 30 Earths between us and it. Sounds enormous, but the moon is practically next door. Because once we start zooming out, Earth disappears. Then the solar system disappears. Then our entire galaxy becomes just another tiny point. And eventually, we reach a universe so enormous that scientists still don't know how big it really is. So just how small are we? And how much of the universe have we actually seen? From Earth, the moon looks incredibly close. It dominates the night sky. And sometimes it even feels like you could almost reach out and touch it. But step back from Earth, and that illusion disappears. The moon is, on average, about 384,400 kilometers away. That's roughly 30 Earths placed side by side between our planet and the moon. And here's another way to understand that distance. If you could somehow drive a car through space at a constant 100 kilometers per hour, you would need more than 160 days to reach the moon. And yet, humans have actually made that journey. 12 people have walked across the lunar surface. Standing there, the perspective would be completely different. Earth would no longer look like the enormous world we experience every day. It would look small, a blue sphere hanging in an enormous black sky. And that tiny blue sphere contains every city we've built, every civilization we've created, and every human life we've ever known. But the moon is only the beginning. Because once we leave Earth's neighborhood, the distances stop being measured in hundreds of thousands of kilometers and start becoming millions. And that's when our planet begins to look truly small. The moon was only the beginning, because beyond it lies a world where distances become almost impossible to imagine. Our next destination is Mars. Unlike the moon, Mars isn't sitting at a fixed distance from Earth. Both planets are constantly moving around the sun. So sometimes Mars is relatively close, and sometimes it is hundreds of millions of kilometers away. At that distance, even light needs several minutes to travel between the two planets. And that creates a strange problem for the future of human exploration. Imagine standing on the surface of Mars and trying to talk to someone back home. You couldn't have a normal conversation. You would speak, then wait. The message would travel across space, and only after several minutes would Earth receive it. Then you'd have to wait again for the reply. For the first humans on Mars, Earth wouldn't simply be far away. It would be a distant world that could no longer respond instantly. And yet, Mars is still incredibly close compared with what comes next, because humans have already sent a machine far beyond the planets. Voyager 1, launched in 1977, it has traveled farther from Earth than any other operational human-made spacecraft. And at that enormous distance, something extraordinary happens. The planets disappear. The sun becomes just another bright object. And Earth, the entire world that once felt enormous, becomes almost impossible to see. But Voyager didn't just take us farther into space. It gave humanity a completely different way to look back at home. And that tiny blue world is about to become even smaller. Now leave the planets behind. The sun becomes smaller. Then the solar system disappears into the distance. And suddenly, we see something much larger. The Milky Way. Our galaxy. From Earth, the Milky Way can look like a faint band of light across the night sky. But from far enough away, it becomes something completely different. A vast galaxy stretching roughly 100,000 light-years across. And somewhere inside all of that is our solar system. Not at the center, not in a special location, just one tiny neighborhood among an enormous number of stars. And here's the part that's difficult to imagine. The light from the stars you see at night has traveled enormous distances just to reach your eyes. Some of that light began its journey before humans had built cities, before recorded history, and before many of the civilizations we know today even existed. Yet the Milky Way isn't simply a collection of stars. It contains vast clouds of gas and dust, stellar nurseries, dead stars, black holes, and countless planetary systems. And somewhere inside this enormous structure, there is one ordinary star called the Sun. Around it, one ordinary planet called Earth. And on that planet, we built everything we know. But now zoom out again. The Milky Way starts shrinking. Its hundreds of billions of stars become a single point of light. And then something becomes clear. Our entire galaxy is only one galaxy. There are others, thousands of them, millions, and eventually billions. And that's where the scale of the universe stops making intuitive sense. Because the Milky Way isn't the destination. It's just one tiny piece of something much, much larger. Now zoom out again. The Milky Way shrinks. And suddenly, it is no longer a galaxy you can recognize. It's just one point among countless others. We are now looking at our local group, a collection of galaxies held together by gravity. And even this enormous neighborhood is only a tiny part of the larger cosmic structure around us. Galaxies aren't scattered randomly through space. On the largest scales, they form enormous patterns. Long filaments, dense clusters, and gigantic empty regions called voids. It looks less like a collection of stars, and more like a gigantic web stretching across space. And the farther we zoom out, the more galaxies appear. Thousands become millions. Millions become billions. Eventually, individual galaxies become almost impossible to distinguish. And that's when the numbers become difficult to comprehend. The observable universe is roughly 92 billion light-years across. That's the portion of the universe whose light has had enough time to reach us. But here's the strange part. The universe itself is only about 13.8 billion years old. So how can the observable universe be so much larger than 13.8 billion light-years? Because while that ancient light was traveling toward us, space itself was expanding. The universe wasn't simply sitting still while light crossed it. The space between distant galaxies was stretching. And that expansion changed the distance between us and the places that emitted that ancient light. So when we look billions of light-years into space, we aren't simply looking far away. We're looking back through time. We are seeing galaxies as they existed billions of years ago, long before Earth looked anything like it does today. And yet, even this enormous observable universe may not be the whole story. Because beyond the farthest light we can see, there may be something we can never observe. And that brings us to the biggest question of the entire journey. And now we reach the strangest part. Everything we've seen so far, the Moon, Mars, the solar system, the Milky Way, and billions of distant galaxies, belongs to the observable universe. But observable doesn't mean everything that exists. It simply means everything whose light has been able to reach us. Beyond that horizon, there may be an enormous amount of universe that we can never see. And this isn't because our telescopes aren't powerful enough. It's because the universe itself is expanding. Some extremely distant regions are moving away from us so rapidly that their light may never reach Earth. Even if humanity survived for billions of years, there could still be parts of the universe permanently beyond our view. And that leaves us with a remarkable problem. We can measure the size of the observable universe, but we don't know the size of the universe itself. It could be vastly larger than what we can see. It could even be infinite. Right now, science doesn't have the answer. And perhaps that's what makes the universe so difficult to comprehend. We've managed to travel from Earth to the Moon. We've sent machines beyond the planets. We've photographed galaxies billions of light-years away. We've looked deep into the universe's ancient past. And yet, We still don't know whether there is an end to everything. So when you look up at the night sky, you're not seeing the universe. You're seeing a tiny window into it. And somewhere beyond that window, there may be more galaxies, more stars, more worlds, and more space than humanity could ever explore. Because the biggest thing we've discovered about the universe isn't how much we know, it's how much we still can't see. So, how big is the universe really? The honest answer is, we don't know. We've measured the observable universe. We've mapped billions of galaxies. We've looked billions of years into the past. But beyond everything our light can reach, there may be an unimaginable amount of space that we'll never be able to see. And that changes the way we should think about our place in the cosmos. Earth is tiny. Our solar system is tiny. The Milky Way is tiny compared with the structures around it. And even the observable universe may be only a fraction of everything that exists. But maybe that's not something to fear, because every time humanity has looked farther, we've discovered something we didn't know was there. The moon, other planets, other stars, other galaxies, and now, an entire universe whose true size remains one of the greatest unanswered questions in science. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember this: you're not looking at the universe. You're looking at the tiny part of it that has managed to reveal itself to us.